Chapter 1. Parting of Father and Son. It was an era of unprecedented peace in the chronicles of humankind. For 120 years under the reign of King Elisar, prosperity reigned, borders expanded, and the realms of South Gondor and the Rune Sea were woven into the tapestry of the reunited kingdom. Threats from the east and south were effectively quelled, and all sang praises to the glory of this mortal sovereign. Yet our tale unfolds through the gaze of a lesser-sung figure, a low-key, wise, battle-hardened and stubborn elven king whose quiet vigilance witnessed the tides of Middle-earth's transformation. Though not central to the grand narratives of bards, his realm thrived as vibrantly as his name. Thranduil, vigorous spring. After the One Ring's destruction, the once tainted greenwood was cleansed. Dark creatures withered, trees and flowers breathed anew. Yet history's ink scarcely honored Thranduil. While heroes stormed the black gates of Mordor, he and his kin defended their burning forests against 3 waves of Sauron's onslaught. Towers crumbled, halls charred, and worst of all, his people perished. For millennia, he had shielded them as family. Each fallen elf carved grief into his ageless soul. As the world rejoiced in victory, Thranduil buried his dead beneath solemn dirges. He shed his silken robes, laboring alongside sylvan elves to rebuild. His pride swelled for Legolas, his son, now hailed as a hero of the Fellowship. Yet a shadow loomed. He foresaw their parting. On the 6th of April, Thranduil rode his great stag to meet Celeborn of Lorien in the forest's heart. Both were Sindar elves of Teleri lineage, kin bound by ancient blood, yet seldom crossed paths. Their accord was peaceful. The shadowed wood was renamed Erin Lasgarlan, the Wood of Green Leaves, and divided. The north to Thranduil, the south to Lorien, and the central expanse granted to Beorn's skin-changers and woodland men. As they parted, Celeborn spoke gravely.
Our time here dwindles. The age of elves fades. We shall depart soon. Join us.
Thranduil replied with courteous frost.
Safe journeys to you.
Hearing this, Celeborn recognized the steadfastness of Thranduil's resolve to remain in Middle-earth. It seemed he had wholly inherited his father Orifer's stubbornness. Thus, there was little more to be said. After exchanging blessings, they parted ways, 2 figures etched against the backdrop of an era slipping softly into twilight. Thranduil immersed himself in fortifying roads and walls. Legolas returned briefly, aiding the reconstruction, yet restlessness gleamed in his eyes. Days later, the prince bounded into the hall, waving an ornate invitation.
King Elisar's coronation in Minas Tirith, his union with Arwen of Rivendell. We must attend.
Thranduil bent over blueprints, did not glance up.
Yes, your friends await.
I leave at dawn.
Legolas's eyes sparkled, eager to reunite with Aragorn, Gimli, and Frodo. Thranduil smiled faintly. After Legolas departed, Thranduil drowned his grief in labor. He took pride in his son's growth, yet mortal triumphs felt fleeting. Kingdoms rose and fell like tides. When word came that Legolas roamed Middle-earth with Gimli, Thranduil sipped wine beneath the stars, tracing memories. His father's fall in the last alliance of elves and men, their refusal of the Valar's call, the bloody exodus to Greenwood. Duty had rooted him. But Legolas, his spirit soared like a bird. Years later, Legolas returned, regaling wide-eyed elves with tales of dwarven halls and human cities. Thranduil listened, offering praise he did not feel. When his son proposed leading elves to dwell in Ithilien, he consented. Yet each farewell etched deeper certainty. Legolas would wander beyond reach. Under the reign of Elisar, peace flourished. The kingdom of Thranduil began to blossom anew. Elfin children were born again, their laughter and merriment filling the air, a sight that warmed his heart. Trade with humans thrived. Exquisite craftsmanship exchanged for the finest wines of human realm. Legolas rarely came back, and they only expressed their care for each other by sending messages. Feasts were often held in the forest, and Thranduil enjoyed the fact that his people could live happily under his rule. Yet, as night fell, he found himself tormented. For millennia, the anguish of losing beloved could only be momentarily soothed by wine and jewels, the shadows of grief ever lurking in the depths of his soul. On a day in the year 120 of the Fourth Age, the noble King Aragon passed away, plunging the entire world into deep mourning. Yet for Thranduil, it was merely a soft sigh that escaped his lips. Such matters were all too familiar to him. To an elf, mortals were but strangers, fragile beings whose lives ended before the bonds of friendship could truly be forged. He preferred to keep his distance from humanity. The death of Aragorn struck Legolas like a crushing weight, a realization that lingered in the silence of his heart. Thranduil, discerning the sorrow in his son's letters, noted how Legolas often mused on the fleeting nature of mortal life, an echo of grief saturating each word he penned. One fateful day, Legolas returned to the forest, a sudden reappearance that filled Thranduil with both joy and apprehension. He enveloped his son in a warm embrace, yet on Legolas's face rested a smile that seemed more like a mask than a true reflection of his spirit. That night, they sat together before the flickering candlelight, the shadows dancing around them. Thranduil handed Legolas a cup of wine, a silent invitation to speak. He said softly,
I see pain and uncertainty in your eyes. You seek answers and wish to venture far from here.
My heart cannot find peace. They say that place is free of suffering, and I long to see it.
Thranduil understood his son referred to the undying lands. Aman.
It is a journey fraught with distance. We may be parted for a long time.
Thranduil's heart wavered, haunted by doubts of what Aman truly held. His own poignant memories of Doriath's fall intertwined with the Noldor who had returned from the west, steeped in the blood of kin. Both he and his father, Orifer, questioned whether Aman could indeed be the refuge for elves that they sought. And yet, for Legolas, perhaps it was the only balm for his wounds. In that moment, Legolas felt an overwhelming desire to take his father with him, to escape Middle-earth together. But the words faltered at the precipice of his tongue. He understood that Thranduil would never abandon the realm he cherished, a kingdom and its people that he loved more than his own life. He recalled Elrond's words about the fate that awaited elves who lingered in Middle-earth, a slow decay, until their physical forms perished, leaving the unwilling spirits to wander eternally. Unable to restrain his thoughts, Legolas finally spoke.
Father, you know what lies ahead if you stay. Rather, why not?
But Thranduil raised a hand, halting his son's words. He said softly,
Go forth, my child. Pursue what your heart desires. My blessing will forever follow you.
Once more, Thranduil embraced Legolas, gazing deep into his eyes, then resolutely turned away, leaving his son with the weight of the world upon his shoulders. At dawn, Legolas departed from the forest, and once again Thranduil beheld him as he left home. It was not long before the news reached him of Legolas and his dwarven friend Gimli embarking upon the Anduin, sails unfurling toward the horizon. That night, as Legolas sailed away from Middle-earth, Thranduil gazed at the myriad stars dotting the sky, a vast tapestry of memories and hopes, and found himself unable to sleep, lost in the silence of what had been and what might never be again.